Salut salut, nous sommes de retour pour une autre vidéo. Pour ceux qui sont nouveaux à notre chaîne, bienvenue. Nous sommes de Legal Mauritian. Nous faisons des vidéos sur la Mauritienne d'une façon informative et divertissante. Dernière fois, nous t'y mentionné comment nos constitutions donnent un legal framework pour Parlement, gouvernement et la Cour. Trois mots qui se tiennent bien souvent. Mais est-ce qu'ils ont déjà posé la question qui fait nous dans ces trois institutions-là? Ça, il y a cause d'un principe qui appelle Separation of Powers, que nos constitutions divisent le pouvoir de l'État en trois parties. The legislative, Parlement, the executive, gouvernement, and the judiciary, la Cour. There are many advantages of this concept, and some include allowing a fair and smooth administration of the country, as the Constitution will lay down the specific roles and powers of each branch. It also prevents the government from wielding too much power, as the other branches can do checks and balances. And on an extreme note, it also prevents dictatorship. An example of where all branches are separate and independent from each other is the USA, where the executive is the president, the legislative is the Congress, and the judiciary is the court. However, Mauritius's separation of power is similar to that of the UK, where the executive is part of the legislative, while the judiciary is independent. Hence, this video is among a series of free videos, whereby we talk about each of the three branches of the state, and the topic for today is the Parliament. The Parliament is one of the most important and iconic institutions of our country. It is the place where our primary legislations are created or changed, and parliamentary proceedings have a direct impact on the lives of all Mauritians and the future of the country. Acts of Parliament cannot be challenged by the government or the judiciary unless they are deemed to be unconstitutional. Nevertheless, Acts of Parliament can only be repealed or amended by Parliament itself. This principle is called parliamentary sovereignty. First of all, Parliament consists of the National Assembly and the President under Section 31(1) of the Constitution. However, in general, when people talk about the Parliament, they are mostly referring to the National Assembly, where the government and opposition hold their debates in the presence of the Speaker. The iconic building was founded on the 30th of July 1958, but it was then known as the Legislative Assembly. It was only when the country became a republic on the 12th of March 1992 that the building was named the National Assembly, and its address is Parliament House, Place d'Armes, Port-Louis. So without further ado, let's dive straight in the structure of the National Assembly. One primary characteristic of our parliament is that it is unicameral, which signifies that our parliament is made up of one chamber. This can be contrasted to bicameral parliaments, whereby there are two chambers, such as the Westminster Parliament, consisting of the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Now then, who are the people in the National Assembly? Well, first of all, we have a speaker. Repeat it! Oh, sorry. The speaker. The speaker is the highest authority in the assembly. He has the duty to make sure every parliamentary rules and regulations are followed by. No one can dispute the authority of the speaker. If so, the speaker can dismiss any member of the parliament for disobeying a point of order. That is, the speakers recalled towards maintaining decorum. Sitting just in front of the speaker are the secretariat and the clerks. They have two main duties under Section 14 of the Standing Orders and Rules of the Parliament, and they must send each MP a copy of the order paper stating the business to be dealt with at the sitting. They are also responsible for the safe custody of records of the Assembly and all papers laid before the Assembly. Furthermore, under Section 15, they keep minutes of the proceedings and circulate copies of such minutes after each sitting of the Assembly. Then, to maintain law and order within the Assembly, we have the Sergeant-at-Arms. Think of them as the police of the Assembly. They act under the direct authority of the Speaker and ensure that when a member is not maintaining decorum, they are escorted out of the Assembly. I order you out! They are also the one who bring the mace, symbol of authority, to indicate the start of a sitting, and its removal to indicate adjournment. The mace is a purely traditional entity. and other parliaments such as the Westminster also make use of such protocols. Now, let's move in the political side of things. First, we have the leader of the House, or most commonly known as the Prime Minister. He, or she hopefully one day, is the head of the government. He presides over the cabinet of ministers, comprising of 23 ministers, excluding the PM. He advises the president and is collectively responsible to the National Assembly for any advice given and for all actions done by or under the authority of any minister in the execution of their office. Then, right opposite the PM, we have the opposition with the leader of the opposition. They have the duty to question any proposals brought forth by cabinet members or other elected deputies from another party, either leading or opposing. This is done through debates or through direct questions. The National Assembly consists of 70 members, 62 directly elected for a 5-year term and 8 additional members under the beloved best-loser system. From the 21 constituencies of Mauritius, each constituency can elect a maximum of 3 members, usually the 3 candidates with the most votes. Now, at the making of this video, following the general elections of November 2019, this is how the National Assembly is composed. The coalition party Legal Mauritian, in orange, holds the majority, with 42 of the 70 seats. Mr. Pravin Kumar Jagannath, being the leader of the coalition, acquired the Prime Minister's post. The remaining 28 seats are allocated in the following order. 17 for l'Alliance Nationale in red and blue, comprising of the Labour Party and PMSD. 9 for MMM in purple, and 2 for OPR in brown. Seulement, qui mal fonctionne au Parlement? National Assembly suscite gêne qui essentiellement se tient à 4 buts. Lawmaking, financial control, ça veut dire budget tax, critical role, ça veut dire debating et scrutiny, et finalement, representative role. Bien nous explique ça Ken. Like we said before, the most important function of Parliament is to legislate. There are a plethora of procedures and rules to be followed for a Bill of Parliament to be enacted as law. Any law is first presented in the form of bills. There are various types of bills who have their own rules and procedures. Most importantly, private members' bill, public bill, and urgent bills. Understanding Order 66, a private member's bill is an official request which has for its intention the promotion of the interests of some particular person, association, or corporate body, or whereby the private rights or property of any particular person, association, or corporate body may be directly affected. Next, we have a public bill, or more commonly known as a government bill. This is where the government proposes a national legislation. This type of bill undergoes a maximum of 3 readings in the Assembly. This is because they have an impact on all citizens and hence they are by far the most important type of bills. The first reading is where the contents and aims of the bill are presented. The second reading is where the bill is scrutinized in full by various committees. And finally, if there is a motion for it, the bill is read for a 3rd time before the vote. We also have urgent bills, and understanding Order 65, they are bills which are put forth by the Prime Minister, which are usually undertaken in matters of emergency, where national reform is urgently needed. Urgent bills need not pass all the aforementioned stages like a public bill has to. Usually an urgent bill, given the circumstances affecting the country, will go directly to the voting stage. The voting of all bills are made in the same manner. Understanding Order 51(1)A, those supporting the bill need to say aye and those opposing nay. If the amount of ayes overcome the amount of nays, the bill can proceed to the final stages, that is, obtaining presidential assent. For any bill to be enacted as law, the President must grant his assent under Section 46(1) of the Constitution and Standing Order 64. In practice, this is simply a formality. However, the Constitution provides that the President has the right to refuse to give his assent only once if he is opposed to its provisions. The President may propose some amendments, but the Assembly are under no obligation to adhere to them. Hence, if the bill passes the Assembly again, the President must assent. As their empty fun fact, On 15 February 2002, President Kassamutim resigned from his position after refusing to send an anti-terrorism bill twice. Then, moving on the second function, here is a quote from the Assembly side itself. The power to make laws include the power to raise revenue and authorize expenditure. No revenue can be raised by way of a tax or the imposition of license fees, custom dues, and other charges without the authorization of Parliament. Expenditure must equally be authorized by Parliament, c'est-à-dire le budget. Appropriation laws are passed to enable withdrawals from the consolidated fund, c'est-à-dire qu'est-ce que le gouvernement gagne avec taxes. The annual budget speech usually takes place in early June before the beginning of the financial year on the 1st of July. The Minister of Finance presents his budget speech, reviewing the country's economic performance in the previous year and announcing economic proposals for the coming year. There is a debate and eventually a vote is taken on the appropriation bill. Through questions and motions, Parliament makes the government accountable for its actions. Questions to ministers are put only on Tuesday sittings, and the order of business provides for a 3-hour question time. This question time allows the members to raise questions with the ministers on the ministries which fall under their respective responsibilities. Through parliamentary debates, the public can listen to a spectrum of views and opinions and find out how decisions affecting them are made. Members of Parliament represent the people who had voted for them in a general election. As such, they are responsible to look into the needs of their constituents and to make their concerns heard in Parliament. Ça au fait, je prends cette occasion-là pour lancer un message personnel. Il est extrêmement important pour les gens réaliser le pouvoir qu'ils ont voté. Et je lance un appel pour les gens qui n'ont pas habitué à voter. S'il vous plaît, prenez patience et faites-le. Qui fait les autres du monde déterminer le futur. Écoutez qui ban candidat la dire et pense bien avant de voter. Après tout, vous pouvez mettre l'avenir et l'avenir au ban proche dans la main du monde qui peut voter. So this concludes today's video and we hope you have learned something new about our parliament. Remember that this was just a brief illustrations of mountains worth of principles, rules, procedures and protocols which underpin our parliament. Next time we'll talk about the second branch of the state, the government, one which is under much fire recently. Please don't forget to like, share or subscribe to show your support for our videos. Till next time, we are the Legal Mauritian.